I like the grease the dive slate kind of thing. That's good. I like that.
As long as you can get your hands back in the suit, right, and then slip them back out. But 9 times out of 10, one of your gloves or a finger in a glove pulls out, and now you're left trying to work like this for the rest of the
No, I mean, just take it down range and just touch it. Just right on. Don't take your hand out at all.
I guess we can stop worrying about doing the hand-to-hand communication and seeing how the audio's working
out. Go.
Is it? Is the audio back on?
I think I fixed it.
It is fixed.
I got a text message from Sean, says he can hear us.
Oh, yay.
It was actually a test to see how long you guys would stay on, if you're that ate up, or you're that much losers and have nothing else to do on a Tuesday night.
How much stamina do you have? You gonna stick with us or not?
Shit.
We had experimented with, I can't think of the company's name. I'll try and Google it here in a second, or I'm sure someone online can. There's a company that makes like a dive tablet that like sits on your wrist on the outside, and instead of paper, it's a plastic material. It's rather expensive, but you basically can scroll. So instead of having a tablet to carry around, you take a grease pencil out and write it almost on your wrist, then you can pull it along. Our dilemma was that we have half the team is left-handed, half the team is right-handed. And so the time it takes to flip that around to the other side just wasn't practical. And then we never got around to testing if it actually had any chemical resistance based on its price. Like, that's the other thing, is like there's a lot of stuff we'll take down range and destroy, but just the juice has to be worth the squeeze. And sometimes, like someone said, a dry erase board. I mean, that probably works, but
we're kind of wearing a dry erase board.
Yeah,
true.
Learn to read backwards.
Well, and we
log up to write love letters in the window.
Yeah, even in bunker gear, you can do that. Obviously, you can't erase it like you would with a level A or a level B. But with MCI training, and we've done this on actual MCIs, we're trying to count how many reds or yellows or greens we have. Instead of grabbing those tags and shoving in your pockets to get a count, we would use a Sharpie, and I would write R for how many, Y for how many. We would write it just on our arms. Like, it'll wash out, and if it doesn't, whatever. I don't care. I just need this whiteboard this one time. So even with bunker gear or a fabric, it obviously you can't erase it like what we're talking about. But if it's a critical event like that or something like that, there's nothing wrong to write on your PPE. Obviously, the chemical compatibility is one minor issue we can take a look at, but it's still a very beneficial way that we get so reluctant about marring up our gear during a critical emergency. This is the time that I may want to write on my gear or remember something.
For the most part, all hazmat gear is single use once it's exposed downrange.
Yeah.
So
the biggest issue, I guess, when people will go, well, what about the chemical compatibility between the dry erase marker and that?
I'm worried about that.
Right.
Yeah, we got bigger things to worry about.
Right. Exactly.
I think another point to this is, and we've had this discussion on the fire side, because there's a lot of departments that look and say, oh, well, FDNY does this taxing. I'm going to pick on FDNY in particular for just a second. And they go, man, they do this great tactic. I'm like, cool. They have 6 people on an engine. Do we have 6 people on an engine? The answer is no. But that's not where it ends, right? It's the same 6 people on the engine day after day after day. And they, I imagine, and that's probably true with other departments, they learn what everybody does. And so you've done the dance long enough that you know that Mike's going to get off and Mike's going to grab this tool, and Mike is right-handed, so he always does a right-handed search, and you begin to learn those things. And so Mike brought up a good point. How often are we really working with somebody from the other side of the country? I think there's something, if you are the type of department that has the ability to kind of script like who your teams are going to be, practice makes permanent. Just practice with the same person over and over again, and you learn what they expect, you learn how they operate, and then less communication is necessary. One of the best compliments I think I heard of teams in general is that from the folks that were doing the evaluations of teams in Pennsylvania was that the teams that are best are the teams that have to talk the least, because everyone already knows what's going on and they just go to work. They don't need to have someone that's micromanaging that, Bobby, you're going to do this, and Jeff, you're going to do that. They just say, go to work. It happens. And that comes from practice, in my
100%. But I think it's
JC, what about you?
Well, we've never used hand signals, to be honest. So I'm not. That's why I'm probably not getting in this conversation. We always use radios at the minimum, and if we have to take our arm out to transmit because we don't have, the mushroom button and then the earpiece, that's just the way it is. Communications for us, it's like paramount. We can't send anybody in if we can't talk to them, and talking between each other is important. When I got on, back in the 80s, the captain was the only one that had the radio. It was the only one.
Right.
I think we've moved past that. At least I hope. So.
Was Morse code difficult to learn?
No.
Smoke signals.
We were taught in the academy. So. Yeah. So that was part of it. But yeah. So I don't know. We've always said if we lose communications, everything, it's like, hey, we got to get out, and
So-
that's just a no-brainer thing for us. But
So then
but
you
I
guys
do know
are the
some
perfect
teachers.
examples. Like, what do you do? What did you do when not everybody had a radio? Because for the most part nowadays, everybody's got a radio, right? This is like if your comms fail, if something goes down. So what were the tricks and tactics for communicating person to person in a suit downrange?
We yelled a lot.
Okay.
There was a lot of yelling. We stayed together as a crew a lot better, actually, because that you had to, because the captain was the only one that had the radio. And in terms of like hazmat, we've always had, as far as I can remember, we've always had in-suit communications. It was just something that was just, and I do know that some don't carry that. I can't, I just don't know how they get along with that. But what they do is they usually carry a radio that's hooked to their chest strap.
In a
But
vest.
then again, you're pulling your hand out of your suit, just like Mike says, and you're pulling a piece of your glove out. And then when you're inside, best thing to do is just bite it, so you can pull your hand out when you're working inside the hot zone with all those chemicals.
Okay. I've got a question. I have a strong opinion about this one. I know some of you guys are going to be shocked, but I've got a question. Who is on the communications team with the entry team?
For us, it was the hazmat officer who was next to command because they wanted to hear, and we didn't want them jumping in on the radio. So it was the hazmat officer or safety, whatever your department calls them. But the guy that was right next to command, he was the one talking back and forth with the entry team.
For us, it depends on what the mission is. So most part, it's the entry leader, the person in charge of the teams, and often whoever's doing technical information, and whether that for us is on scene or the virtual folks that we use. And I think there's some advantages. It comes down to who needs the information. But I think what you're getting at, and we suffer from this, the more people you get on, is it becomes problematic because there's too many people on the party line, right? Back before everyone had their own landline, and you have too many people listening to stuff. They're making opinions and trying to take actions on intel that is not yet vetted.
And that's what we had. We had separate radios for the entry team. Nobody else had. So it was just the entry team. And then for when I was on the job, me, the hazmat officer, talking back and forth. But, Jeff brought up a point about taking your hand out to talk or whatever. A lot of people have the push to talk buttons, and they're constantly touching their suit. And one of the things that when we had that system, we found easy is we just clipped it. And I'm sure a lot of people do. This is not like rocket science stuff. We clipped it to the shoulder strap, the part that comes down on the SCBA. So all you had to do is like a chicken wing, just bring your elbow down to push the button, and that was it.
That works.
We we had a designated channel that was only for the people on the incident. So we would move that over to entry would move that over to a designated channel. So we weren't interrupted by anything else. We did the same thing we did any helicopter operations because any foreign talk was not acceptable when we were doing some sort of rescue operation. But we were able to do that because we're on 800 megahertz and we can with multiple channels and whatnot. But I know everybody doesn't have that luxury, but that's what we did.
Yeah,
Not
I agree.
It makes
not
sense.
necessarily for entry, but we do a lot of stuff, or we tried. Certainly, we got away from it a little bit. I think some of our training changed during COVID, and we kind of got away from some best practice things that are time based. I think back, and this is a fire department thing. My dad, when he was a firefighter just outside of Indianapolis, talked about the fact that the guy that hit the hydrant would just wait 2 minutes and charge the line. And it was the operator's job. The first thing he got off the apparatus is on the tailboard was to take the hose clamp and apply it to the supply line so that he had more time to do whatever he needed to do because they didn't have a radio. And so rather than walk back and forth, it was just you have 2 minutes, sort your stuff, pray that you don't get delayed. No one wants to talk to the driver. His number one task was to get out and put the hose clamp on. Because if he didn't, you're going to be charging and I don't know, I didn't ask, maybe I should, how often they charge the hose bed. But is there like a hazmat equivalent that if we lose comms, like is that an immediate stop action where you're coming out? Or do we have enough faith in those guys to be like, if you feel you can do it, come out, give us a signal, and then you've got like 2 minutes before we send somebody in to come yank you out? Like, is there anything to that effect for your disagree?
No, we lose communications. We're done. We gotta come out. It's just the way it is. And we have the other thing too is that our backup team, which is a whole different topic. Our backup team is in line of sight of the guys that are operating in the hot zone. So if entry team can't hear us, but backup team can, backup team may say, I can hear you, I can see them, we're good for right now. So there is some sort of redundancy there, but that's just the way we operate. I mean, that's not a typical way a hazmat team operates.
I think
There's one thing that
that way.
Ron Huffman said in there that he said that you have the chest button, but you got to watch out that you cannot lay on it.
Yes, that's why I'm a side sleeper.
No,
That's why.
but those chest buttons are pretty firmly mounted in the front, where you don't have the option of popping that off to lay flat.
Well, I hope he didn't lay down in any chemical environment. Hopefully.
Listen, I mean, a level A is rated for abrasion. So if you gotta lay down, you gotta lay down.
It is.
I don't know if I would do it in a front opening B suit, but it's sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
I'm thinking saddle tank stuff. The amount of times you're like laying, trying to like get putty on the backside of a saddle tank.
Well, I think we've all experienced an open mic on the fire ground.
Oh yeah.
Those are always fun. Because we
especially when you get a radio timeout, you're not allowed to talk on the radio for a while.
Oh yeah, engine six.
We get a bit spicier when it's an open mic in the cab of a medic unit or a fire engine accident as well.
Oh yeah.
Or if the chief just did something stupid and everyone's pissed off at him for it.
Yeah, engine 6 is bagging on engine 3.
Really quick, Mike, if that's okay. You were inquisitive about who is communicating with who when we're in the hot zone. I'm very similar to Ben. I think we all agree right there. Our entry team lead is the one communicating to the entry team, and I'll let the IC either listen or eavesdrop in. They know the channel. We have our own dedicated encrypted channel where I'm at for that. And we have interoperative operative channels with our different counties and law enforcement and fire as well. But I'm kind of curious if you had any line that you were going on that one.
Yeah, I'm staunchly against the chief being in our communication pathway.
Gee, that's a surprise.
Yeah.
Weird.
Wow.
I want my officer. I want the two backup guys listening. I want them to be able to hear what's going on. The tech guy, I want to be able to have constant communication with my tech guy. I really don't need the officer, but they're good to have on, right? Because I'm talking to my TAFgraph guy. And the officer's great at deflecting the chief, but I've been on runs before where the chief's been in our comms, and every 5 minutes they just won't shut up. And it's very irritating. I definitely that the officer has to be playing block to the entry team and just being like, they're fine, let them be.
Yep.
I agree with that.
I mean, it's
I
also
gotcha.
technology has reached a point where you can have anybody on if you want them to. And I know that it's nice, in addition to the folks that you and I do agree that sometimes the incident commander can be overbearing, but who we've had also success with is the facility rep to be able to say, it's this, or this is what I'm seeing, or as technology has progressed.
Yeah, I think that would land within the tech ref, category. But there's been times, even, we talk as if we have separate communications all the time, but me and Bobby have been on runs together where we were in bunker gear and we were like, hey, switch to, and then we had like a designated frequency that we would switch to, so that the entry team and the tech ref team could communicate without anybody else listening in. That way we could shoot down ideas, and then you're more free to speak, because sometimes that hazmat huddle doesn't happen together. It happens, there's one that I'm thinking of in particular was a 7-story building with a cell phone tower on top. Bobby was tech ref. He was down. I was entry team. I was up. Like, I'm not going back and forth to have that communication, but we need to communicate. And I don't want everybody else listening to the stupid ideas that we're putting out back and forth, things that we're doing, things that are failing, suggestions that are being given back and forth. Like, if that hazmat huddle is happening on the radio, it needs to be private, for lack of better words. Like, just go somewhere else, communicate if you can't do it. But I don't want other people chiming in. I don't want the Chiefs hearing our back and forth. I want them to hear when we've made a decision what that thought process is. I don't want them hearing the back and forth, the unsure, the maybes, the this.
That's a great point. It's like entry teams anonymous, right? What stays in the huddle happens in the huddle, stays in the huddle.
Right. Because we should be able to say all the stupid thoughts that we have. Like, we should be able to regurgitate, knowing that half the shit we say is ridiculous, but we got to get it out there, right? Like, we have to say it, because I can't tell you how many times one person's really stupid idea that you almost have an aneurysm trying to process ends up through conversation leading to something that works really well. And when you have like an open mic, or you're communicating and other people are listening, that doesn't happen. So, if you have to have that tech ref or resource or resource officer, whatever you want to call them, to entry team communication, make sure that that's as, private as possible. Even cell phones nowadays, call the guy up, have a cell phone conversation.
There you go.
I think it's time to do the scholarship drawing.
All right, let me get to it. We have our first person, Mr. Mike Kenny. Orange County Hazmat Team.
Mike Kenny.
Orange County where? Is that New York or
New York?
Didn't say.
I know there's
one.
What's that?
And number 2 is a Tyler Burnside Mason Fire. These are the 2 winners for the Virginia Hazmat Conference. We have your email addresses, and you will be getting some information, as they say in New York, forthwith. Is that how they do it, Bobby? Forthwith?
Forthwith, K.
Forthwith, K. Congratulations.
Thank you for Chris for coming on.
Thank you, Chris. And Ron, I agree. Ron, I agree. Lay lean. You could push that button and have an open mic. So yeah, I can't respond on the chat. So
well, I think that wraps up another one. Nice job, everybody.
Fun.
We got the communication issue fixed up.
Oh.
Ah.
They didn't need to know. You know,
I'm not really sure, but I think Mike doesn't like Chiefs.
I have a
love
feeling.
Chiefs. No. I
think he was the guy that the lieutenant said, Mike, go the hell over there and stay away from the guy in the white shirt and white hat.
No. When my job was resource and I was embedded in with the incident command, I played very well with everybody. I hate stupidity, and that seems to come, not that the people are stupid, but the choices sometimes are not well thought through. And you have and not like, I'm not talking like fire chiefs fireside. I'm specifically talking about chiefs on a hazmat scene, because they are coming from a position of such limited information, and the best ones are the ones that just let us do our job. Like, just don't interfere. We'll keep you up to date. We'll let you know what's going on. Trust us. It's when they start thinking that because they're chiefs, they've got to have their 2 cents in, when their 2 cents isn't worth a shilling. That's when I have a problem.
I think you're like my old captain, Mike Osborne. When you're doing overhaul and you see a chief in the yard and he's talking, and you're in the house with the knob, you eye him, and then you just open the nozzle up and you give him a good squirt and go, hey, you shouldn't be standing so close, Chief.
What is he doing there? Like, you don't trust your officers to be able to give you information?
He was actually just coming up to say hi, but Captain Osborne did not like him.
No, stop by the firehouse afterwards with some food. That's the way to say hi.
Oh, okay.
I love it.
Good.
You guys killed. I appreciate everybody coming on, and congratulations to the scholarship winners. And there'll be more to come because we have more conferences coming. People are signing up to advertise, which means we can give bigger checks to all you fat cats that win.
Which we're excited about. We're excited to get people into the conferences that normally wouldn't go to the conference. It's it doesn't seem like it's a big deal, but it's a big deal. It's a big deal when you leave your pond and you drink from other ponds.
And the farther away you can get, the better. I think that people get too much confirmation bias, because chances are if you're doing something in a particular way, your neighboring team is doing it that way too. And the benefit
very true
perceived from getting to see people all over, and our team has been able to get from even further travel, is phenomenal. People do things very differently, and because they have different pieces, they have their huddles, and they have different idiots that we all have to explain the why that's a bad idea, but leads to whatever the new good idea is, as Mike pointed out. And I think that the farther away you can get, the better. I mean, how far away?
You go.
Key West is very far from most.
Very far. I thought so.
I highly recommend.
It's a it's a slight flight for me from.
It might be the farthest south. I think.
Yeah.
I think I read that somewhere.
Listen, I'm the closest one. I don't want to hear it.
So basically, Chris would be bringing the most or different ideas.
Correct.
True.
I do have some.
Doesn't mean they're good. Doesn't mean they're bad. It's different.
I'll show you how to wear flip flops, Chris.
I love it. All right, guys. Well, we'll see you all next month for another riveting episode. We'll figure out what that is, and hopefully pull another couple of. What?
Ron, he said it's the best I sounded in years. I'll keep working on it.
All right, we'll see you guys all next Tuesday.
Bye.
Not really.